So, let's use Affinity Photo to plan out and design a trifold brochure. If you thought you could only do that in Affinity Publisher, well, let's think again. Let's use Photo to do it. It's not that difficult. And this will produce a US letter size trifold brochure that anyone can use. So let's begin. This is an iPad Trifold Design. Well, it's done on an iPad, and of course you can do it on a desktop just as easily with Affinity Photo, but this version is done on the iPad to show you how versatile it is. The document in the end is a US letter size, but it's easily resizable, so it's suitable for any need or any size paper. The fonts used are widely available, and we'll look at the initial setup to begin with. Now, if you have a look at the two sides of the brochure here, with bleed it will be 8.75 by 11.25. As you're aware, US letter size is 8.5 by 11. So we've got slightly larger paper. And you can see there the orange line around the outside is the bleed area. That will be cut off, and it'll be cut along the dotted line you can see just in the edge of that. That's the trim size, 11 inches by 8.5 inches. Now the safe area inside the margins is 8.25 by 10.75. Now a safe area allows for paper movement. We're not talking about out of the box sheets of US letter size paper here. We're talking about a printer printing your paper. So when you go to set this up, remember to set your colour scheme as CMYK, because you're going for a printer, of course. Now, bleed, margins and fold guides. We're going to set the guides up. You can see your document size is 11.25 by 8.75. That's down the bottom there. And your margins show the fold lines. Your guides, show the fold lines and the margin lines and the bleed lines on this document. You can see that the fold line guide on the inside is slightly left of the actual fold line for the outside. That's because the panels, if you look at that, are slightly different sizes. Panel 3 on the bottom one is the inside flap on the top fold you can see there, because obviously a brochure, the two sides are slightly different. The dotted line represents where the brochure is folded, the solid lines represent the safe zone, the dashed line represents where the document is cut, and the thick orange line illustrates the full bleed size of 11.25 by 8.75. It's in landscape mode. So let's add a guide for those fold lines on the inside. They will also show off the outside layer, giving you a good idea on the fold location. Now, with the document set up, let's lay down the backgrounds. As mentioned above, there will be two documents in total, one for the front side and one for the back or the outside. And we're going to create these in one document using layers. So on the document, create a white rectangle layer the same size as the canvas using the rectangle tool. Add a pattern overlay layer effect to the shape using a suitable geometric pattern from Unsplash in the Stock Studio. In fact, you can use any background pattern you like, but it should be black and white and fairly unobtrusive. Bring its opacity down to 10%. Place it as the top layer and it will look like this. Rename the layer as BG pattern, short for background pattern obviously. Now you can see the layers there. I've got that outside sheet and that inside sheet as two separate layers. Then a white rectangle sitting above the outside or layer. And the opacity is down to 10%, showing you there, and it will look like this. Now you can see the pattern sitting on the paper, and I've just got a black and white geometric pattern there. That's not anything different. We now begin dealing with the two sides of the brochure, namely the inside or front side and the outside or back side, so your front and your back. On the front, create an 11.2 by 6.1 rectangle towards the top of the canvas and set it to grey. You can see its sizes there in the Transform Studio. Clip a photo of a blackboard or a chalkboard into the rectangle shape, again using Unsplash from the stock Studio. Enlarge the image so that only the chalkboard texture is showing. Now change to the backside document and place the same chalkboard texture filling up the full canvas. And there's an image of it. Having changed to the backside document and placed the same chalkboard texture filling up the full canvas, we now need to create the background for the backside or outside part of the document. Do this by copying the existing 4 layers into place above the outside layer. Turn off the layers above the inside layer. Now I know that sounds double Dutch, but if you look at the layer panel on the right hand side there, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 5 layers that are turned on. They have the tick in the box. Now above that you have the inside or front of the document, the white rectangle, the background pattern, a rectangle and an image in place above that, but they are turned off. It will all become clear as we go along. For the back or outside, the texture layer is now completely filling the document. And you can see which one it is because the layer is actually highlighted in the layer panel, and it's the topmost layer. That's the one you can see. Place a light grey rectangle on the right hand side of the back document. This rectangle should line up with your rightmost fold guide. That's fairly straightforward there. Again, observe the layers panel. You've got a rectangle in there, a white rectangle. That's panel 1. Now, switching to the front side document, place and clip an image of your team, for example, above the chalkboard texture. Set the layer mode to overlay and add a reasonably harsh filter Gaussian blur. Because you don't want a full image there. This is an image of a couple of people in your team, for example, or it could be your product, or it could be the school building. Depends what the brochure is for. But it's in very smudged out form. Group these layers, these few layers, into a group named background. Do the same to the backside document's background layers. So you can see you have 2 sets of backgrounds there, 1 set turned on and 1 set turned off. Now let's focus on each side of the brochure separately so we don't have to keep switching backwards and forwards and getting very confused. We'll start with the front. You can see in the layers panel all the front layers are highlighted. Now, starting with the rightmost panel, extract and place a subject of your choice from the stock Studio. I'll be using this stock image of a businesswoman, and I extracted her using the flood selection tool, then invert and add mask, which work great here as we're going for more of a graphic style look. Make your subject black and white with adjustments black and white. That's the adjustments panel, and add black and white. You could also use HSL grayscale, but you can see the layers panel on the right hand side, and you can see the masks that are applied with the adjustment layer in black and white. Now, create a pink to orange gradient to fill the layer. Set it to style linear and set the angle at 90 degrees. Clip it into the subject. So you can see nothing much has changed except we've added an orange, pink to orange gradient. Now here I've turned off the black and white adjustment in favour of the pink and orange. So the black and white, I've just turned it off. Untick the box. The colours have been adjusted here, as have the layers. You can see it's pink at the top, orange towards the bottom. You may find it easier to create and modify your image as separate components in a separate document, then place them where you need them. You can do it in the document or outside the document, in another document. Finish up by placing a version of your logo above the subject. I use this buffalo logo. Group the subject, gradient and logo, naming the group Right Panel. Now on the middle panel, let's start by creating a row of featured clients, sponsors or any other logos you may want to feature. If it's a school brochure, it could be lists of school achievements, anything that catches your imagination, and depending on your needs. At the bottom section, place a banner and add your call to action and phone number. The middle panel is virtually done. Group all the logos to keep things nice and organised. Now you can see again in the layers panel, the bottom three are turned off still, including the lower background group, but you've got backgrounds, right panel and centre panel at the top. They're turned on and they're grouped. You can tell that by they have the little triangle in the left hand side. Let's finish this side by designing the left panel, and in this case I've typed out the first half of your tagline using black at 32 point, or you can use it in any colour. Copy the same gradient layer style from the phone number rectangle onto the first half of your tagline, and you can see that I've set that from orangey green across to orange to green. That's not complex. Make that more complex than it needs to be. Place the second part of your tagline using regular at 30 point in white. Place it directly below the first half of the tagline. Both lines of text should be pressed up against the leftmost content guideline. Group the two lines of text, naming the group tagline. Now you can clearly see you've got a left panel, a centre panel and a right panel there. Place any additional text below the tagline group using regular at 11 point, and remember to keep all the text between the two left panel content lines so they don't end up in the fold of the brochure. Finally, in the left panel, it's evident by now that whatever your design elements are, the goal is to fit your important information within the margin guides, and where it overruns, it's sacrificed past the bleed lines. So you can see that smudged background goes right out to the edge of the document. So where the bleed lines are, that will be cut off. You certainly don't want your text or important information out past that bleed line. That's why you have the margin lines. Everything within that is printed. The fold lines are self-evident. Anything on a fold line could get lost in the fold line. Again, check the layers panel and you can see the various layers there. And that's the inside or front side of the brochure. Now with the other side, first group all the layers just completed, name the group front. There's no mistaking it. And you can turn it off because now you're looking at the back side or the outside, or if you like, the back. This too contains the guides. Again, the orange colour is the bleed and anything in there is cut off. So let's expand the background. You're going to place elements in there and you can clearly see the guides, so it should now be easy to place images and text boxes where you like, keeping them within the guides. Now the process is simply a repeat of the front, which I won't do here because there's no point in me designing a business brochure that you won't use, because it just expends all your energy on something that it's no point in using. If you like, just use the template document and remove the elements that I put in there. And you'll find a copy of this document, the AF Photo document and template, in the download area of my website. As they say, bon appetit. Save your work as you go. Please remember to subscribe and like my channel on YouTube. Thank you for watching. An interesting little exercise in building a brochure using Affinity Photo.